Pirates were not white. Well, some were, but many were not. And history proves it. Hollywood gave you Johnny Depp. History gives you black and brown sailors, rebels, and warriors from every coast on Earth who built pirate societies long before and long after Europe showed up late to the game. White people didn't invent piracy. They just commodified it, romanticized it, and colonized the narrative, like they do with everything else. Real piracy was multiracial, anti-colonial, and rooted in rebellion, survival, and maritime knowledge that white empires relied upon, but never understood. Piracy predates white empire by thousands of years. Sea raiding is as old as maritime travel, but it wasn't white. Ancient Austronesians in Southeast Asia practiced piracy in the South China Sea and Indian Ocean thousands of years before Europeans had compasses. Malays, Javanese, and Bugis raiders dominated trade routes from the Philippines to Madagascar using swift, maneuverable ships and guerrilla tactics. African Swahili coast sailors, Somali sea raiders, and Nubian Nile pirates disrupted trade routes and defended their territories from Arab and later Portuguese incursion. The Indian Ocean was full of Hindu, Muslim, and African maritime cultures who fought, traded, and raided centuries before Europe even mapped it. So no, piracy did not start in the Caribbean. It started wherever imperial trade tried to choke local autonomy. The so-called Golden Age between 1650 and 1730 was not a white man's story. It was a multinational revolt against European empires. Many pirate crews were up to 30 to 50% black. This included escaped slaves, freed men, and African sailors who found freedom on pirate ships where they were treated as equals, sometimes even as captains. Black pirates like Diego Grillo in Cuba, Black Caesar in Florida, and Hendrik Kinter of Dutch and African descent were legendary in their own right, often serving as quartermasters or second in command. Qi Shi, a Chinese woman, led one of the largest pirate fleets in history in the early 1800s, with over 70,000 sailors and a strict anti-R-word, anti-theft code. She defeated both the Chinese Imperial Navy and European colonial fleets. Maroon communities in the Caribbean regularly worked with pirates. Black escaped slaves forming alliances with seafaring rebels to fight back against colonial rule. The pirate code was more egalitarian than most European governments at the time. Wages were shared, race didn't always determine status, leaders were elected. White pirates were often escaping white civilization. Most of the famous white pirates, Blackbeard, Bartholomew Robert, Calico Jack, weren't nationalist heroes. They were outcasts, criminals, or deserters, fleeing the brutality of European navies and empires. White pirates often joined black and indigenous communities, adopted non-white tactics, and married into non-white populations. Pirate havens like Nassau in the Bahamas, Tortuga in Haiti, and Madagascar were diverse enclaves, with black, brown, indigenous, and European crew members living together. These weren't extensions of white empires. They were rejections of them. White people didn't lead piracy. They fled into it. The real pirate world was anti-colonial, not romantic. Piracy emerged as a direct response to colonization, slavery, and the violent extraction of wealth. While white empires were trafficking humans, pirates were freeing slaves, raiding slavers, and redistributing stolen goods. In many cases, pirates attacked colonial ports, sugar ships, and gold fleets, the economic arteries of white supremacy. Europeans called them criminals. History remembers them often as freedom fighters. White media rewrote pirate history to center themselves. Hollywood and Eurocentric textbooks turned piracy into a cartoonish fantasy of swashbuckling white men. Black pirates were erased. Asian sea empires ignored. African maritime resistance was buried. Disney gave you Jack Sparrow, but history gave you Qin Shi, Black Caesar, Anne Bonny, the Maroons, and countless others who didn't fit the whitewashed mold. White culture couldn't handle the real story, so they sanitized it. If piracy was a rebellion against empire, exploitation, and inequality, who do you think really built it? Not the empire, not the crown, and not the white man. Cope.